artwork to make, and I'm going to draw that artwork hopefully quickly, and then I'm going to post it on the Open Lab. And just as a reminder, when you're getting ready to do this assignment, um, in Blackboard, so I'm going to go over to Blackboard and go to Student Preview for a second. So if you're in Blackboard and you want to work on the assignment, you can go to the assignments, and this first assignment is recreate an artwork, so you can go in there. And the thing that you want to do in here is like look at the rubric. So here's the rubric, and this kind of shows everything that you have to do for the assignment. And I'll usually have like a little short description. So choose an artwork. So you get 20 points for just choosing an artwork. That's pretty easy. You get 20 points for using shapes. You get 20 points for using colors. You get 20 points here for the composition. So this one is the only one that's like a little bit, subjective. Like if you make something that's not exactly perfect, I'm probably not going to take any points off here. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. It just has to be in the direction of the artwork that you chose. So yeah, unless it just like looks really, really off, you'll probably get the points for that one. And then documentation, which I spelled wrong. I need to edit that. There should be a T right there. Anyway, so this is just posting on the Open Lab. And so yeah, as I mentioned before, in the last class, once you submit your assignment, I'll go through and grade it. And if you miss any of those parts, I'll give you a note that says like, oh, you forgot to do this or whatever. And if you want to resubmit, you can always, update your assignment and resubmit the work if you want to. So yeah, I'm going to demonstrate doing that in a second. But yeah, that's where we are on Blackboard. Okay, so going back to the schedule, I want to do assignment 1. So that's right here. And I want to choose an artist to recreate. So my favorite artist on this list is I like all of these artists. Obviously, I chose them, but I really like Julio the Park. So I'm going to click on him and look at some options. So last year I did this one. And that actually turned out to be kind of hard. So I'm going to try this one this year. I think this will be a little bit easier. Oh, and this will be a good chance to actually demonstrate a quad, because I think I'll need a quad to create these. Um, so, it won't let me. It says, due to rights restrictions, this image cannot be enlarged, viewed at full screen, or downloaded. I feel like they may. Wow. Okay, so yeah, it won't let me. Oh yeah, I can. I can still do this. Okay, open image in new tab. So let's take a look at that. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to recreate this image. I'm not going to recreate the outline. I'm just going to recreate the shapes. A lot of his works are like this, like it starts with a horizontal line and then it slowly shifts to a vertical line. And it's very formal, but I kind of really like that it feels like a little bit of a story. Like you don't really even notice it at first, but then you're like, oh, this is exactly the same as this one, and this is exactly the same as this one, and this one is the same as this one, but they're just rotated. I think that's pretty cool. And it's also just like he painted this, like this isn't code, but it demonstrates kind of a coder mentality, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to recreate this. So I'm going to create a new sketch in my editor window. So I'm just going to go to File and go to New, and I'm going to call this Julio Le Park, and then the name of the artwork, so Metamorphosis of a Line. And so then I'm going to put a little comment in here. I always want to start my sketch with a comment. And so I'm going to say, whoops. Okay, so / asterisk and then asterisk / So this is a recreation of Julio Le Park's Metamorphosis of a Line. And I'm just going to include a link to where I found this, so I won't forget where that is. It's kind of a long link, but that's okay. And what else do I want to put in here? I'll just put by Owen Roberts, and the date is 9/7/2022. Okay. So then let's get things set up. So the first thing I want to do is kind of make the right size. So this is a very, very long drawing, so it's probably not going to fit in my sketch window necessarily, but I'll still do that. So I'm going to assume that this is a square. Okay, so I'm going to take some notes. So I'm going to assume this is a square. It might not exactly be a square, but it's probably pretty close. So let's assume this is a square, and I'm going to say I want this to be 200 by 200 pixels. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I'm going to have to make 11 times 200, which is, I should be able to do that in my head, but I'm just going to use Google. Or actually, I'll just use P5. I don't even have to do that. So, okay, so I'm going to start with my canvas is going to be 200 high, and it's going to be 11 times 200 wide. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that looks pretty good. It's very, very wide. That's okay. Okay, so then, oh, we haven't even really talked about the draw function yet, have we? We're still not going to. So I'm going to delete this. Um, we're going to do that next week because we don't really need it for this week. So then I'm going to draw a background. It's the background here is obviously it's like white paper, but it's like not exactly white. So I'm just going to do like a very light gray. So I'll do like 240. Um, yeah, that looks pretty good. Oh, I haven't really gone over this. I will go over this in a lot more detail next week, but we can also use numbers for the colors besides just names. So if I use 240, that's like on a grayscale from 0 to 255. And so that's how I get that gray. I'll go over that more next week, but you can still, I could just use like light gray as the color here, and that's pretty close. It's not exactly what I want, but I can use my color picker and get it a little bit lighter. Um, so yeah, that's pretty close to what I had before, but yeah, I'll just leave it at light gray. I'll go over the colors next time. So then we're gonna make some shapes. So we obviously need to start with a line. And so I want to figure out what is this width. It's going to be a little less than 200, but not that much less than 200. And then it's obviously like perfectly centered in the square. So for my first line, I'm going to have a line. And so let's see, I want it to just go a little bit from the side. Maybe it's not even that much. It's like maybe like 10 or 20. I'm going to start with 20. And it's right in the middle. So the middle of 200 is 100. And what else? It's goes almost to this other side, which is this would be 200 pixels. So 200 minus 20 is going to be like 180. So 180, and then it's in the same place, so 100 on the Y. Okay, so that's my first line. That looks pretty good. I think that's a pretty good start. I might need to make it a little bit different as we go through, but I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna make it a little bit wider. So I'll do stroke like 4, or sorry, stroke weight, try 2. Okay, let's try 4. Okay, that's too much. Let's stick with 2. Okay, so now I have to make these shapes. And so there's a couple ways I could do this. One way I could do this would be to use two triangles. So I could do like one triangle like this and one triangle like this. But I'll have to duplicate a lot of my numbers if I do that. So instead, what I'm going to use is called a quad. Quad is basically a triangle with an extra point. So it's like a square, but it can have points anywhere. It doesn't have to be square. So I'm going to go to quad. And so you can see here, it's just a little bit more complicated. So it's XY, 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 XY. But here's where I'm going to use my like math and stuff. I'm just going to like stick with these numbers and just add to them. So I don't have to like do any real calculations. So for my quad, I'll start with a quad here. So I'm going to start in the same place. So I'll copy that first X. And I'm going to end in the same place. So I'll copy this second point. Okay. And then I need to move over. So I'm just going to add 100 to this, or 200. That's the width of my of my shape of my squares. So I'm going to say plus 200. Okay, there's my second line. So that's looking pretty good already. Now we just need to put some stuff in the middle. So we want 2 points in the middle that are going to be like exactly halfway. Um, so this is where it gets kind of complicated. I have too many numbers on the screen. So another thing that you can do when you're coding that can be useful is you don't actually have to leave everything on one line. I can put stuff on a new line. So I can move this down here and move this down here. And so I can have each one of my points on a different line. And it may make my program look longer and more complicated, but it's also a little bit easier to read. And I can also put little comments here. So that's X1. This is Y1. This is actually my X4, even though right now I don't have anything in the middle. And this is my Y4. Okay, so yeah, you don't have to do it this way, but it makes it a little bit easier to read. I'm going to try to line these up. It won't let me line them up. Okay, that's fine. I'll just leave them like this. So we're going to put some coordinates in the middle. Um, so we want basically 20, we want basically like whatever's directly in the middle here, which would be like, this would be like 100 and this would be like 300, I think. So I'm going to try, I'm just going to try 300. And for the Y, I want to move a little bit up. So I started at 100, so I'm going to go to like, uh, let's say, let's do 100 minus 20. And then I want to do the opposite of that for my third point. So this is x2, y2. So then for my third point, I want to do like same thing, 300, and then 100 plus 20. So I'm going to go in the other direction. So this is probably maybe a little complicated looking. We're going to look at like, first of all, we're going to look at better ways to do this type of thing. But we're also going to go over this stuff more. So if this looks kind of crazy right now, don't worry too much. Okay, so I almost got it, but see how it's like twisted in the middle? Because I went from point 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I really need to go is point 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll go back here nicely. Actually, there might be a way for me to fix this. Uh, Without doing that, let's check something. Is there anything else quadratic? Quads? No. Okay. I just have to fix the point. So what I need to do is just put this x4 before, oh, this is actually y3. I need to put this x4 before this one. And I need to put a comma here or I'm going to get an error. There we go. Okay. And then I have to fill black. Okay. So that's pretty good. Let's see if it looks, this one may be a little bit smaller. So it's like, this is 20, 40, 60, 80. Oh no, I think I did it right, but oh, but it's not all the way. So actually I think this is like 10. I think this number should actually just be 10 and this number should just be 10. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I've worked out most of the math and now it's just a lot of copying and pasting. So I'm just going to do that real quick. If this doesn't totally make sense, don't worry about it. You don't have to recreate this artwork. You can choose whatever you want. The only thing I'm not going to do with the quad is the last line. So let me put that first. I'm going to grab this line, copy it, and paste it down here. And so this is going to be 20 plus, what was 11 times 200? I need to know that now. 11 times 200. It's 2200. That's a lot. Okay, so this is going to be 20 plus 2100. And uh, this x is going to be 180 plus 2100. Okay, so let's see, did we get the line at the end? No, we went too far. Oh, because I was adding, yeah, I'm going by 200, so that's not the right math. Okay, there we go. So we've got a line, and now we just have to fill in the rest. So I'm just going to copy and paste this a bunch of times. So I'm going to copy this whole thing and paste. And okay, so this one I've moved up. So I have to move all my x's. So this 200 becomes 400. This 200 becomes 400. And then my x, I'm just going to add 200 here. So I'm just like moving 200 pixels to the right every time I draw something. Okay, so there's my next quad. And then I'm moving up a little bit and down a little bit. So that's my y in the middle. So we're going to go minus 20 plus 20. There we go. Okay. So now let's go to the next quad. Oops. Okay, so now 400 becomes 600. 400 becomes 600. 200 becomes 400. 200 becomes 400. Okay, and then 20 becomes 30. 20 becomes 30. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think 5 is in the middle. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the middle. Okay, so you have to do two more.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Um, like I figured it out eventually, but do you have any like good like tip to how to calculate the shapes inside the page? Because it was really hard for me to um understand what kind of like what is the size of my page.
Hmm.
So all of my shapes will fit in, you know, in the right way. Because sometimes the page was too big, sometimes the shapes were too big, and it was like out of the page, and it was like it took me a lot of tries until I managed to put like the shapes in the right size. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. So it kind of depends. I mean, the first of all, it doesn't have to be perfect. So if you just kind of like start with like one shape and then build out from there, that's one way to do it. What I did with this one is I kind of analyzed the shape of the arc first of all. And one thing that made it easy in this case is I just kind of ignored a lot of what's going on. Like I didn't bother to recreate these outlines. I just like ignored that. I didn't bother to recreate this margin. I was just like, whatever. I only focused on like the main part of the composition, which is like these actual shapes. And then from there, this composition is really simple. Like this is very obviously a rectangle, and it's very easy to see that there are one, two, three, however many, 11 rectangles. With a different composition, let's find a different composition that's more because these are very all of the Julio Leparc compositions like have an internal logic, which is usually relatively easy to see. Like if we were looking at this one, there's one big square and then there's another big square. So again, if I was going to do this piece just to get started, I would look at like, okay, let's ignore the margin. I don't really care about the margin. I just want to create what's inside of it. You can create the margin, oops, if you want to, but you don't really need to. So then this is obviously a square, right? Like we can tell this and this are the same distance. So we know that's a square, and this is pretty much the same size as this. So that tells me right away that I need a sketch, regardless of how big this is, I need a sketch where the width is 2 times what the height is. Like this is 2 times this. So that's pretty simple from there. And then the next thing is just deciding how much space do I need to recreate it. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 lines. So there's 19 lines. That's a lot. each line, I would guess, just looking at this, is like 10 pixels wide. So if I had 10, and then there's spaces in between the lines. So if there's 19 lines, there's 18 spaces. So there's 10 times 19 plus, 10 times 18, whatever that is. And you can figure that out with code. I guess this is easy. You just put the zero. So it's 190 pixels plus 180 pixels. And you could just round that up and just be like, okay, that's 200 plus 200. So that gives me 400. So I could probably recreate this with a 400 by 400 pixel square and another 400 by 400 pixel square. So for my sketch, that means I need 800 width and 400 height. And then I would just kind of go from there. So there's no like right way to do it, but that's like one way you could do it. If you have something more like a Kandinsky, like depending on what you're working on, like if you're working on a Kandinsky and it was like this one, like there's a lot of stuff going on, I would probably just start like what's the main shape here and like how do I recreate that? So I guess you could argue about what the main shape is here, but it's probably this black circle. And just looking at it, it takes up my whole screen. So it's pretty big, but you don't have to make it that big. So I would kind of just guess that the circle is maybe like 800 pixels wide. So I'd start, if I have a circle and I know that this is 800 pixels, or you could do 1,000, whatever. And then there's just like a little bit of edge over here. So you might want a slightly bigger sketch. You might want like 1,000 pixels, and it's pretty square, so I'd probably want 1,000 by 1,000. And then I would just put a big circle in the middle and then kind of move in from there. There's like a little circle here, little circle here. Just kind of like look at all the shapes. But again, you don't need to, like, if you don't get every single circle in this drawing, that's fine. It's just about kind of like recreating the basic idea of this. So yeah, I don't know. I can look at like if you have like a specific work that you're trying to do, once I'm done with this little demo, I could take a look at it and kind of maybe make some suggestions.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I told you I did figure it out.
Oh, okay.
It was the way you kind of did it, like these calculations. I just thought might be like a different way, but it's good. Like I guess I'm on the right way. Thank you.
Okay, cool. But yeah, that's a good question. It can be hard to know where to start. So if anybody else is trying to figure out what to start with, just let me know. We could go over it after I finish this little demo. Which let me finish this up because I don't want to take up the whole time, but I do want to make my little drawing. So let's see. I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have to go 5, 6, and then go the other way. So let's copy this again. So this is my next quad. So again, I'm just increasing by 200 every time. It's good to choose just like a simple dimension and then just kind of stick with it, because then I don't have to think too hard about what the next number is. And then this one is going to be like minus 40 plus 40. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, so that's good. So now this next one is like the middle one. So that's where I'm going to find out if I did the numbers right. And if not, that's okay. So this is the middle. So this at this point it should be a square, and I'm already pretty sure I got it off, but let's just see. So let's increase 800 now to 1,000. 800 to 1,000. Those are my two edges, and then my two middles go up by 200, 200. And then my insides go to 50 and 50. And this is supposed to be my middle, which is supposed to be a square, and it's not quite a square. And I'm realizing the reason it's not is because the insides are coming in at the same time that the outsides are going out, and I didn't really account for that. So that's something that happens a lot in code, and now I'm like, oh, do I go back and rewrite everything, or do I just not care? Um, let's just fix things up and see if I can do it quickly. So let's see. I should have put comments here. So this is my second shape. So that's number 2. I'll just put a 2 here. And so I need to bring the x1 in a little bit and bring the x4 back a little bit. So I'm going to do plus 10. So this is going to match the plus 10 and the minus 10. So that's actually not too hard. I'm going to do minus 10 here. Okay, I think that's all I really need to do. So let's go to quad 3. So x1 gets a little bump. Now it's up to 20. And x4 gets a little minus 20. Okay. Where was I? That's number 3. This is number 4. So my x1 gets a slightly bigger bump that matches plus 30. And my x4, I take off 30. Okay. And then here's number 4 or 5. So now I do a little bump, 40. And my x4, I do a little minus. Okay, did we get it? Okay, that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty close. Uh, we just have to add it to the last one. So now we have a plus 50 here and a, where is it? X4 minus 50. Huh. Okay, I got it off because now this one is supposed to be a square and that one's supposed to still be more flat. Okay, so I got the number off. Okay, so let's see, what am I doing wrong? So the whole square is 200. So this should be 100 by 100. It's half. Hmm. Okay. I might not be able to get this exactly right. Or maybe I'm just not counting right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so the line is 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe 6 is the middle. Maybe I'm just I don't know. So I'm just going to keep going. So the thing that I know now is that I just have to go in the opposite direction with my little things. So I'm just going to keep going. So I'm going to copy this. And if I'm off, that's okay. I'll just move on. So now it's going to start. Well, I guess it just keeps going in this direction. So now, okay, so 1000 becomes 1200. 1000 becomes 1200. This becomes 1000. This becomes 1000. And now the question is if I can keep bringing this in. So this becomes 60. This becomes minus 60. This is minus 60. And this is 60. Does that actually work? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so let's just keep going. Oh, my line over here has got to be vertical. We'll fix that later. Okay, so that was 6, 7. So we'll go to 1470. Oh, did I? No, that's right. Okay, we'll go to 1200 here. 70, 1400, 70, and 1200. Okay. No, I didn't get it right, but whatever. I'm just gonna end wherever I end. Okay, so now this is 8. Okay, this goes to 80. This goes to 1600. This goes to 1400. This goes to 80. This goes to 1600, 80, and 1400. Okay, that's number 8. So it's already a line. How is it already a line? Okay, whatever. I'm gonna fix this later, but we don't need to figure it out in class. So I'm actually just gonna change the size of my sketch real quick and pretend that this is what I intended. So I'm gonna change this to 8. And so even though I didn't get it exactly right, or I guess it's 9, even though I didn't get it exactly right, I did get pretty close to the general concept here. And I just need a couple more cells, so I just need to do the math a little bit better. But anyway, this is good enough for what I'm going for. And I just want to demonstrate submitting this to the Open Lab. So one thing that's really nice about P5 is it's very easy to do documentation because I can use this function called the save function, which will save my sketch to an image. And I literally just have to write save. So I have to go all the way to the bottom of my program. I have this kind of like ridiculously long program, so sorry about that. But I'm just going to go down here and I'm just going to write save. And what's going to happen is if I hit enter again, see it comes up in my downloads. My download thing disappeared because I have a Chrome extension that makes my download bar go away. But if I go to my File Explorer and go to Downloads, you can see this image here. I'm going to delete this old stuff. Don't need this anymore. That's not what I wanted. Delete. Okay, let's delete that too. Okay, so there's my image right there. It's called Untitled. Let's just open this in Paint. Okay. So there it is. There's my recreation. It's just an image now. It's not code anymore. But if I want to give the image a name, I can just write that in. So let's delete this. Let's go down here and I can just put the name of the image that I want. So I have to use a string. So I have to use some quotation marks first. So I put the quotation marks there and I'm just going to call this, what was the name of this work? Okay, metamorphosis of a line. I'm just going to call this I can't even spell this, metamorphosis.png. And whatever you put in for the extension is what type of image it'll make. So if you make like .jpeg, it'll make a JPEG. PNG is a little bit better for a higher quality image, so I'm going to use a PNG. I'm going to run the sketch again. Now it's saved into my downloads folder, but this time it's called Metamorphosis. So, it doesn't really matter actually what you call it, but that'll make it a little bit easier to find maybe. And so there's my image, and I'm ready to do my homework or to upload it to the Open Lab. So I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to find the Open Lab. So I can go to my week 1 and go to the course site from there. Oh, that's the old link from last semester. Got to fix that. Sorry. How else can I get here? I'll go to Blackboard and go to course info and go to Open Lab site. This is the right one. Um, and so yeah, now I just have to post my thing. So if you're not logged in when you get to the Open Lab, just go up here and click login. And then to create a post, I can just hit this plus button, or I can click on the post. So I'm going to hit the plus button, and you'll notice this red bar. This says you have to select a category, so it wants me to do that. You don't have to do it first, but since the red bar is there, I like to get that out of the way. So I'm going to go over to the menu over here. If you've never been in WordPress before, there's a few things that might be kind of confusing here. But you should see this like menu over here. If you don't see that menu, then you just need to click on the little gear icon over here. There's another menu item here, but you don't really need to use that. Just ignore that. So the gear item icon will bring up the menu that you need. And then you can see all these different menus under here. We don't really need to use most of these, but we do want to add a category. So I'm going to go to categories. And you can see there's already a category for assignment 1. It doesn't have a name after it, so I can update that. But I'm just going to choose assignment 1. And now that little red bar goes away, and I can start creating my uh, uh, post. So I want to give this post a name. And so I could call it assignment 1, but it already has that category. So what I'm going to do is name it after the artwork that I use. So I'm going to call this metamorphosis of a line by Julio. That's too long. Let's just go with metamorphosis of a line. So that's the title, and after you create the title, you can start to create content. So there's a default content block here. So if I click in here, I can just make a paragraph just by typing. So I'm going to say, I chose the artwork Metamorphosis of a line by Julio Le Parc for my first assignment to recreate an artwork in P5. I spelled this wrong. There's an R there. Okay, so when I'm doing the assignment, I want to include some documentation to explain like what's going on here. And this might seem kind of boring, but it's really actually like a very, very important practice to be able to explain what you're doing with your work. If you ever are going to get a job in design or programming or anything related to multimedia, you really have to have a good portfolio. And part of having a good portfolio, which I'm sure your other professors have harped on a million times before, is that you have projects, but you also have explanations of your projects. If you just have an image, this image that I'm about to post probably really doesn't look that interesting. It's like, oh, you just, made some shapes. But if I'm explaining why I made it and what it's doing, it may give a little bit more of an explanation to whoever's looking at it as to like what is going on here and why it's interesting. Um, Continuing on, if I want to create a link in here to the piece, I can create a link on some text by just highlighting the text and then clicking this little link button or hitting Control K. And so when that link button comes up, it brings this little dialog box. And oh, this is not the right image because I went somewhere else. So let's find that link again. It's right here. So I'm going to copy this link and go back to my post and just paste it in there. And then I can also click to open in a new tab. So if somebody uses this, they won't go away from my post. And so now I have a little link there that people can go into. I can also paste a link directly into the post and it'll work, but it will be the text of the link. So if I want it to like look nice and be part of my paragraph, I can use this little link button or use my Control K. Okay, so now I want to include my image. So to include an image, I can drag and drop onto WordPress. If I like have my Finder or my File Explorer open, I can just grab this image and drag it on here. That's a little tricky sometimes. You have to make sure you get this like little blue line that comes up. So another way that you can do it is by using the block editor. I can click on this plus button to add a different type of block. And you can see image is one of the defaults, but if you're trying to add something, you can also search for it. So if I search for image, you can see I get different options. There's image and gallery. Um, if I have more than one image, a gallery is a good option, but I only have one image, so I'm going to use image. That brings up an image block. Again, I can actually drag and drop on here as well, but what I want to do is upload, and it's already on my download. It's already found my image, but if it wasn't there, I could go to downloads, and there it is. I'm going to click open, and that's going to paste the image in here. I can add a caption if I want, but I guess I don't really need one because I already wrote an intro. And then I'm just going to include a link to my code. So every post for an assignment should have a link to your code, just so I can go look at the code that you wrote. And that's part of how I will evaluate the assignment. So I'm just going to write link to the original code. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to select this text and hit Control K. And now I'm going to link to my editor. So you can directly just copy the link in the browser bar from here, or you can go to File and Share. And what you want to do is use the edit link, because that way I can go and look at your code and then run it as well. So if you click on that, it, that actually opens in a new tab. If I just click in the box, it'll copy it. Or I can, again, just go to the browser bar and select the link and hit Control C to copy, go back to the post and Control V to paste. And I want to open in a new tab and then just click here or hit Enter. And that's it. That's what we need to do. So let's preview this. So in WordPress, there's a little preview button. And it's actually, I think a lot of people don't do this because they just assume it's going to look fine, but a lot of time people forget stuff or it doesn't work right. So make sure to preview your post before you send me anything. Um, so I'm going to preview the post, and here it is. This looks pretty good. I can see the image and let's see, the link works. And actually the more important link is to the code, and that looks good. So once I'm done with the preview, um, now I can publish. So I'm just going to click publish. And make sure you publish the post before you send me a link, because if you don't publish the post, I won't be able to see it. And do not send me a link to this where you're editing, because that's where you edit the post. What I want is a link to the published post. So once you publish the post, you'll get the permanent link, so you can copy that. And you can also click on View Post to go to the post. If you make an edit, actually, let's go back here for a second. If you want to change something, you can edit the post. So if there's anything wrong, if you misspelled something or you forgot to add the link, if you're logged in, you'll see an edit button right here. You can click edit and go back to the post. If you're not on that page, you can also just go up to the top toolbar and go to the dashboard and then go to posts. And for me, I see everybody's posts because I'm the admin, but you should only see your posts here. And if you click on your post, it'll take you back to the editor. So I'm going to click on this, and so now I can make some edits. And if I edit stuff, I just click update and it'll update the post. But the link stays the same, so you don't have to resend the link. And if you're looking for the link, it's under here, under permalink. You can click on here and it'll bring you to that. And this is what you submit, just this link to the published version of the post. That is what you submit for your homework. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to copy it, and we're almost done. I'm going to go back to Blackboard. And if I'm going to submit an assignment, and sorry, a lot of you guys probably already kind of know how to do most of this stuff, but I just want to make sure we all are on the same page. So if I want to submit an assignment, I just go here, write submission, and you can write whatever you want, but really all you need to do is post this link like that. And that's all you have to do. Just click submit. And then I will get this and I'll grade it. I'll go through the rubric and I'll, give you comments and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's pretty much everything.
No.
What? Uh, Sorry, I thought I heard something. Somebody have a question?
No, sorry, my
Hi,
mic was not.
Professor. I have a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Uh, um, so you post on you put the homework on Blackboard in the lab.
Put it on Open Lab first, and then all you're doing on Blackboard is submitting a link to your Open Lab post.
Okay. So on my Open Lab, I didn't put the link in. So I just
You can update
recreated
it.
or update. Okay,
Yeah,
got you.
just update it. And just add in the link.
Got you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
the links, you don't have to resubmit because the link stays the same. So even when you update it, the link to the post is still the same one. So you can update the post and, the link will still work. Okay, so one last little thing and then I'll be done. So I just want to show you guys. So one of the nice things about using the Open Lab is all of this stuff is organized. So if I click on my name under the post, you'll see every post that I wrote or that you wrote once you start writing posts. And if you click on the assignment, you'll see all of the submissions for this assignment. So we can see Xavier already submitted something. Tasia already submitted something. Oh wow, a lot of people already submitted stuff. So yeah. Uh, so so the nice thing about the Open Lab is it's super organized, and it's something that you can use in the future. Like if you just want to send somebody stuff that you're working on, you could just send them a link. Like you can make a link right here to the author / your name, and somebody can go look here and see everything that you created for this class. So it's a sort of like a little mini portfolio, just getting in the practice of collecting our work. Okay, that's everything. Sorry, I spent a little more time on the demo than I probably needed to, but we do have like 20 minutes left in class. So I'm going to stop recording.